Billions of people just living out their lives, oblivious.
Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself.
There's something wrong. There's something wrong. You don't know what it is. You don't know what it's there. Like a splinter, driving you mad.
Bring the ship up to broadcast depth. We're going in. Taking Neo to see her.
See who? The Oracle.
Welcome aboard, everybody. We're happy you could join us for what we hope to be another round of insightful and thought-inspiring discussion. I'm James Sangster, founder of Houston Ghost Research. HGR is a spiritual crisis intervention and paranormal investigation group in Houston. I'm also the author of Help, I'm Haunted, Dealing with Ghosts, available on Amazon Kindle. We're joined by Keith Davis, our co-host, fellow intellectual and seeker of truth. Our sponsor for the podcast, as always, is Blue Rose Alchemy, which is a metaphysical supply and, well, it's kind of difficult to classify. Metaphysical supply, ritual incense, I sell Ormus, we make all that stuff out of our home lab, which is a dedicated lab we've got here in the house. Ormus is something we've talked about on the podcast several times in a couple of different episodes, but we're really excited to have just launched in the last week or two our own custom smudge sticks. They're Trinity smudge sticks with it's unlike anything I've ever seen in the smudge and ritual incense market. They've got white sage, desert sage, lavender, sweetgrass, and cedar, all mixed up together as physical herbs in the smudge stick. And then we do this in we do a resin infusion of frankincense, copal, and myrrh, which is our Sacred Trinity incense that's up on the website. We actually infuse that for over an hour into the sticks, and then ritually bless each stick, and package those up and make those available to you guys. We also just launched, and this is so awesome. We've got really good feedback from the free samples we've sent out to some of our Ormus customers. We just launched a really awesome herbal bath salt that's available on the website now that my wife puts together. It's infused with jasmine and lavender essential oils, and this really awesome herbal mixture with like chamomile and rosebuds and lavender flowers and all sorts of cool stuff. It's a really nice package we put together. So if you're interested in that or anything else we've got available, feel free to check out our website at bluerosealchemy.com. I did initially launch, and I've sold a couple to Dawn. A nice shout out to her. A couple of the gemstone rosaries that we put together, but I've pulled it down for now, and I'm going to put it back up. I'm changing a few things because I'm having some problems with getting reliable supplies. So I'm going to change some stuff to make sure I can get good, consistent suppliers, and we're going to put that back up. So if you're interested in checking out our custom gemstone rosaries that we hand make, feel free to join our mailing list through our website, and we'll get the word out to you when those are made available, hopefully in about the next week or so. So this is actually going to be a really short episode. We're talking to Wayne Hoover, who is an expert in binaural beats. Wayne's been researching, making, and publishing binaural beats online for several years now. He's got a lot of expertise, and we're really grateful he could take time out of his schedule to join us. So the interview was about 20-30 minutes, and we'll jump into it. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to hit him up. We've got info in the show notes. And full disclaimer, I've been using Bineural Beats for a long time now. I really find it very useful for focus and multitasking and getting to sleep. So I'm actually an affiliate for these guys. So if you go to higherconsciousnessradio.com/binaural beats, that will drop you to our affiliate link so that when you go to Wayne's website, we'll actually get a small commission off of anything you guys happen to buy through Wayne's website. But he's also got free samples available, so definitely check his stuff out. And there's binaural tracks everywhere. I've now, since we've done the interview, I've now checked out his stuff, and his tracks are actually really cool too. So I'll put a link for that in the show notes, and or you can just go to higherconsciousnessradio.com/binaural beats, and that's it. Let's jump into the interview, and you guys hit us up if you have any questions. Thanks. So what got you into this stuff?
I think when I read Robert Monroe's book called Journeys Out of Body, and in that book he talks about using binaural beats to achieve out of body states, and I thought it was really interesting. I did some research on binaural beats. Yeah, it kind of led me down the road of creating them eventually, and getting interested in them. But I think Robert Monroe's books and Robert Monroe's work with HemiSync is kind of was the first introduction to binaural beats for me.
Say that one more time. What was that? I didn't catch that phrase you just said.
HemiSync.
Yeah.
That's his
Okay.
His business around binaural beats and making binaural beats and distributing them.
So how does I've actually heard of HemiSync before. How does that compare to binaural beats? What's the comparison contrast between the two?
Well, as far as I understand HemiSync, HemiSync basically is binaural beats. HemiSync very specifically, at least as far as when I was using it, about like 8 years ago, the tracks were used for inducing out-of-body experiences. So HemiSync is just basically a bunch of layered binaural beats. So Robert Monroe would write about how he would basically induce certain brainwave states that would help him get out of body. And trained a lot of people to do the same thing. So that's pretty much what HemiSync is, and I think HemiSync, as far as I know, is kind of one of the first players on the ground to really start marketing binaural beats. They didn't call it binaural beats; they called it, their HemiSync technology. But really, under the hood, they were using binaural beats with some meditation music in the background and some gongs and things like that. But the meat of it, I think, is the binaural beats.
So what is the underlying technology that makes this stuff work? Yeah,
so binaural beats basically is, I'll go over the basic example here. When your brain hears, when you put a tone in one ear, say a specific frequency of sine wave hertz, say like a 10 hertz tone in your right, you're just listening through your right ear, and you'll hear a tone. It might sound like just like something like this. And then you place say a 15 hertz tone in the other ear, so they're off by their difference of 5 hertz between the two tones. And if you just listen to it on one side, and you might hear a slightly higher tone like something like this. But then when you hear them both together, when both tones are playing on in each channel, your brain then creates this beat, this herd beat, this binaural beat that we call it, that is the difference of those two tones. So in this case, it would be like a 5 hertz tone that you would hear inside of your is just the way your brain is wired, I suppose, and the way your circuits are in our brain, the way we hear things. It's kind of like an illusion of sound, kind of, because this binaural beat isn't apparent just in the tones, but when we hear those two tones together, then that beat comes. You hear it. Does that make sense?
So it's kind of like a difference engine. If you just played a single tone at the right frequency, your brain wouldn't tune into that. Oh, okay. So you have to have the two differences in your brain to sort of averages the two.
Yeah, exactly. You have to have one tone. They have to be slightly different, and you have to be hearing one in one ear and one slightly different tone in the other ear.
Is this anything, would you say, similar to like a tuning fork? If you had a tuning fork in the middle and you're sending two different signals at it, it's going to oscillate a little differently than both of the two signals. Is it at all like that, or do you know as far as how it affects the brain in the long, once the brain gets that third channel you're talking about, that's the difference of the two.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? Is it just like a resonance that holds the whole time, or does it change throughout when you're listening to it?
No, I think it. Well, if you're playing two tones that are always the same, then it's always going to be the difference. You're always going to be hearing that 5 hertz binaural beat in your mind. But if you alter the tones, of course, then the beat would change. But yeah, it would always be the same. And I think it is kind of similar to the tuning fork analogy. Two waves kind of canceling themselves out at certain frequencies and amplifying themselves at certain frequencies. But the way it works in your brain is really interesting, because basically the difference, what has been shown is that when you hear the binaural beat, say it's at a 5 hertz or something like that, your brainwave pattern actually starts to synchronize to that binaural beat. So if they've studied, what types of brainwaves people go into at different states by hooking them up to EEG machines that measure the frequency of the dominant frequency of the brainwave patterns. So certain brainwave patterns are associated with certain things, like delta waves, which is our frequencies below like 4 hertz, for example, associated with deep sleep and sort of a very slow, deep, dreamless sleep. And there's other waves we could talk about. So I think that's the really interesting thing about binaural beats, is that your brainwave then starts to synchronize to the binaural beat that you're hearing in the mind.
So what you were saying, I guess what I was asking earlier, and now I kind of understand what you're saying. When you make a recording, you have a certain hertz for the entire recording, so it doesn't really change throughout the track, right? It stays on the same one.
Well, okay. It depends. It really depends. So, in most of the tracks that I make and that I sell, I change the tracks. I change the binaural beat, because for various reasons. I mean, sometimes I'll just make it a pure tone. Like, say, I just want to hear a 7 hertz binaural beat the whole time. That could be useful for certain things. But a lot of times I'll start at like a beta. Beta is usually the type of frequency we're most in most of the time. And then I'll kind of slowly lower it down through alpha and then theta, or wherever I want to keep it. And so it kind of starts, I try to start where, at a higher hertz, and then kind of go down. And then at the end, I might bring it back up again or something like that. Or at the end, I might make it go even lower into delta if I'm making one for sleep or something like that. Right. So it doesn't necessarily have to stay the same the whole time. It really depends on what we're after, the desired result of the track.
Well, you talked about like the different states and the different frequencies. How do they relate to mental states, and how is that determined? If how do they determine, okay, this frequency induces this type of a brain wave? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's basically by studying people in different states and seeing what brainwaves they have is the basic answer to that. Most brainwave studies are scientific studies are done in the sleep, our sleep, seeing how people, what type of brainwaves they are in sleep. We have the most data for that. But there's also data for they hook EEGs up to meditating monks and things like that, and seeing what brainwave patterns they are when they're doing that, or just see what brainwave patterns are when you're like taking a test or when you're doing certain things. These machines aren't the easiest to carry around and set up. They require a lot of little things on your scalp and all around, so it's not the easiest thing to study, but we have a pretty good idea of different types of states based on different brainwaves. And so basically the basic breakdown of brainwaves is beta waves are about I think between like 13 and 40 hertz. This type of brainwave is when you're mostly active, your normal state, your normal day-to-day thinking. After beta, we go down into alpha waves, which are about 7 to 13 hertz. And this is mostly associated with like relaxation and kind of like a pre-sleep, kind of like half awake, half not awake sort of thing. And then we get down to theta, which has been associated with meditation and sort of deeper relaxation. And theta is between 4 and 7 hertz. And then we get down to lower than 4 hertz is the delta waves, which I talked about a little bit earlier, which is deep, deep sleep. So usually, for example, we wouldn't find people when they're talking and just in daily life, they wouldn't be in a delta wave. Most of the time, they're in beta waves or maybe alpha waves. Babies also tend to be in alpha waves most of the time. And like I said, people who meditate usually are in theta waves. But we've also seen meditating monks in gamma waves, which I forgot to mention, which are higher than beta waves, about greater than 40 hertz, which is kind of a new, not too many studies have been done on gamma waves quite yet, but it's fascinating stuff.
So it sounds like you can actually emulate sort of deep meditation by using binaural tracks. Is that sort of like a shortcut to meditation? I don't have to go get an orange jumpsuit and get on a mountain and eat oranges to get the same sort of benefits. Is it truly a shortcut, or how does that work?
That depends on how you define shortcut. I mean shortcut in the sense that you don't have to practice as much to get to these states. I think it is. I've been using binaural beats for meditation for quite a while, and it's definitely a helpful thing. It's kind of like almost like if you're swimming and you use fins or something like that. If your goal is to reach tool. It's a good tool. It's a good tool to use. So I wouldn't call it like. It's not wrong or anything like that. It's a good tool to use for your meditation, and I would suggest everybody give it a try at least. It's not going to hurt you, and see how it affects your meditation. Yeah, it's definitely helped me get into sort of deeper states faster. I've noticed a difference in my meditation using binaural beats, and yeah.
How long does it take when you're listening to a track for it to start putting you in that brainwave? Like if I'm just in whatever brainwave and I'm listening to, say, a delta one like you were talking about, how long do I have to listen to that before my brain's actually fully to the point where it's mimicking that?
Various research has said about 8 minutes is about the time it takes to get your brain into that state. I mean, it's different for everybody, you can never really be sure, but you'll feel it, I think, between, 8 and 10 minutes, you should start to notice something. And these aren't, we're talking about subtle changes in your consciousness here. These aren't huge changes, So it takes some time and awareness to really be able. Things are a little different. Maybe if you're listening to a delta, you would notice it because you start getting a little tired. Maybe you would have less and less thoughts, things like this, and there's something happening here,
So I'm going through your website, and I've gone through it a couple of times. Really brilliant design, by the way. I love the way you've got it set up. I'm seeing you've got some much more complex. I just saw the Jedi mind trick. I got to check that one out. So it's not all de-stressing stuff. It's not all meditation. Yeah. Some of it's like you've got one for magnetize, like manifesting abundance and stuff like that. So it looks like there's a little bit more to it than just creating sort of a base emotional state or a base set of awareness. What else do you mix into this?
So, like I said before, it's all, and I got this idea from Hemisync and others who kind of, it could get more complex. So you don't have to, like I was saying, you don't have to just stay at 1 hertz. What you could do is kind of bring people through different brainwave frequencies. So a lot of these tracks that you were talking about kind of we'll start at a certain place, we'll go down, we might go up, we might go down, and we might end at a different place. You know what I mean? And it's, I think this, and not only that, but we could also layer the beats too. So we might layer like an alpha and a theta at the same time, and that has interesting effects. So I think, it's the binaural beats can get more complex, and also pureBinauralBeats.com. It's just the pure binaural beats. We don't put any background music or anything like that. But sometimes people will put background music and gongs and things like this, and that also kind of changes the atmosphere and the effects of things.
I was looking on YouTube and I saw all different kinds of binaural beats, and some of them were saying that they mimic certain effects for certain drugs. Like if you listen to this binaural beats, it's equivalent to taking X amount of this, and then they have other ones that's for headaches. How does that side of things work? Can they really mimic certain drugs?
That's a good question. I don't think so. I mean, it depends. I mean, binaural beats are, like I said, altering your consciousness on some level. You know, I don't think they can ever be as strong as as a drug necessarily. But for example, for healing things, you know, being in delta waves has been associated with releasing certain healing hormones. So just by being in a state of being in delta waves, it signals your body to your glands in your body to start making certain healing hormones and things like this. And this has been documented. In that sense, it's kind of like that, you know, with the healing stuff. But in terms of like, you know, binaural beats and mimicking drugs, I don't know. I don't know. It hasn't been my experience that they have done anything super strong like that. I think it could, though. I mean, it depends on the person. You know, all of these are really individual and personal. So what's, you know, and being an alpha state might affect me differently than someone else. So it's hard to say, but it's been my experience that these kind of like it's going to affect you like certain drugs is kind of hasn't been my experience.
There's a finite amount of things you can do with binaural beats, though, right? What you were talking about is they put your brain in certain wave states like the delta and theta. Is that pretty much all you can do with them? Is get them to, you know, mimic one of those waves or one of those phases? Yeah,
I mean, that's basically what you're doing. Is you're just you're slightly altering your consciousness on a certain level. You know, you're making your dominant brainwave frequency will start to change. That's basically what happens, and that induces certain things in the body. And but yeah, I mean, there's a finite amount of things you could do with it. But I mean, you know, changing your consciousness and changing your brainwave frequency can be quite a profound thing too. At the same time, kind of, especially if you're constantly always in beta, for example, and if you switch down to alpha or theta in meditation, these can have very like calming and nice effects on your body and you know, and your day.
You know, a long time ago, I was listening to this tape series, and it had these things in it called holographic subliminals. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with that, and how does that, or if it does relate at all to binaural beats? I know some people use them in conjunction as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You could definitely use binaural beats and subliminals in conjunction. I think they're really good together, actually, because I don't know exactly what this holographic subliminals are. I'm not familiar with that. But in terms of just subliminals, like, you know, words in the background, they might be at a low volume or something.
I think that's really all the holographic subliminals were, is that it was just phrases hidden where you couldn't hear them. Yeah.
But anyways, using subliminals with binaurals is I think could be really a good. They go well together, because usually in subliminal you want to get your brainwaves down to for subliminal to really work. You really want to get your brainwaves down into like a theta wave. So because you're just more able to pick up the subliminals if you could get your conscious mind out of the out of there and kind of go down into your sort of deeper subconscious mind. And that's usually when you're in a theta or a delta state, is when you're really able to let those subliminals in without analyzing them or you know, things like that.
So other than headphones, do you need anything on the playback side to get full potential out of this stuff? Or I know you have to have headphones. You can't just play it in your car speakers, but above and beyond that, is there anything else necessary?
Nope. Headphones and you know, a quiet space is probably nice too.
What about the volume? Because a lot of people have different ideas on how loud you should listen to this. What's your idea on that?
It doesn't really, I don't think it really affects things that much, the volume. I would probably put the volume at just a comfortable level. I would just, and then, just play with it, play with the volume and see what works best for you. But for me, I don't really turn it up too high, just on a good level that I could hear it.
Yeah, I had to bump some down. Last time I found a really good one on there. It was like, it said 8 hours of sleep, Bineural Beats. And I don't know if that's too long to listen to something like that or not, but I had to turn the volume down pretty low because it started hurting my ears actually after a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially for the sleep ones. I mean, for them to be really, for them to be effective, you just want to, have them for the sleep, especially just enough that you could hear it, I think is fine. They don't have to be super loud at all. That's not going to make them any stronger if they're louder.
You mean it doesn't have to hurt your brain to work?
Get a really nice bass line thumping and just rattle your noggin around a little bit. Do you know if there's any interaction? I suspect there probably is, but is there any interaction between the pineal gland or so-called decalcification of the pineal gland and certain audio tones that maybe you guys take advantage of?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm sure there are. I'm just not really familiar with that. There's another realm of research that just tries to research what specific tones, just tones do to the body. So, like what a 440 hertz tone might do, just listening to that, just the tone itself. And I think there's some correlation between that and binaural beats because it's also at a specific hertz. So I'm not sure exactly which tones or which frequencies are best for decalcifying the pineal gland, but I mean, I think the more in my experience, the more that you could get yourself into a theta or delta or just lower a non-beta brainwave pattern, the more I think the more you start to open up your consciousness to new ways of thinking and being. So
this sounds like something you. I know I use several tracks for studying. It really helps with focus and mental retention for me, especially when I'm at work and I've got too many things going on, trying to multitask. They're great for that. Really good for relaxation. I imagine I'm not a jogger, but I imagine there's a couple of these that would be really nice if you're working out or on a run, something to just sort of put you in that relaxed, focused state. What would you recommend that's in your repertoire for something along those lines?
For like working out and things like that, probably an alpha state, probably a beat that's in the alpha range would probably be best for that. Maybe alpha, low beta, because you don't want to be something slightly relaxed, but not really out of your body. I think the more you get down to the lower frequencies, the more it's kind of disassociating with your body a little bit. So I would keep it more in the alpha, which is a slight relaxed, concentrated state. Maybe high alpha, low beta, something like that. That would probably be good.
How do we tell, based on the tracks on your website, and there's going to be a link in the show notes for that, but it's pureBinauralBeats.com. How do we tell what track has what programming in it?
Yeah, I could send you a link with you could always email me and ask, and I'm always happy to tell you what the frequencies are in each beat. But I could send you some links to some beats that might fit that description later.
Sure.
Maybe
yeah,
put them in
I'll throw them up on the
notes.
show notes.
Yeah.
With all the different people out there making binaural beats and throwing them up, like I said, like on YouTube and places like that, do you think there's maybe a little bit of kind of shenanigans going on there with all the different things that they say these are supposed to help do, like release all your different chakra points?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think there could be some of that. I mean, for all the beats on our website, I've definitely tested them with myself and my friends, and really gone into research. What are the frequencies that really are good for this, and and do they really work? And it's just been a lot of experimentation to find what are the best beats or best frequencies to induce what we're trying to induce here. Yeah, so it's hard to say. I mean, it's best for you just to try it and see if it works for you, and if it's good, and if it works, then hey, they did a good job. But sometimes maybe there is some of that going on. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I've seen some stuff it's definitely frou woo woo sort of shenanigan-y sort of stuff, but yeah, there's a lot that's out there. I dig the way you've got stuff organized on your website. It's labeled appropriately, and it's really nicely laid out. And it looks like you've got a really cool free sample pack available for download.
Yeah.
I dig that.
Yeah.
If somebody's listening to these for a specific, so let's say to try to get to do their meditation, to get in a meditative state quickly, the longer they listen to these, does their brain go to that frequency quicker? Do you get trained to go there?
I think it's been my experience that yeah, I think I don't necessarily know if you go there quicker, but I think it doesn't hurt to listen to them. I mean, personally, I kind of mix it up. I like to mix things up, so I won't listen to the same one. Like in my meditation, I usually alternate between like 3 or 4 tracks that are just slightly different. I think that's really the best way to do it. If you keep listening to the same one, there might be a chance that you kind of I don't know, start to tune it out, or you become so familiar with it that it's almost background noise at some point. And really, we don't want that to happen. So we always want to be like kind of changing it up a little bit so that you don't just kind of zone out. We don't want to zone out. We want to still listen to the beats and make sure that they're being heard. But so there's a slight chance that if you're listening to the same one over and over again for many days, that it could be kind of you just become used to it and you're not hearing it anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So it's best to kind of mix it up a little bit. I think that's the best way to go about that. If you're using them quite a lot, like every day or something like that.
Yeah, I would certainly mimic that. I rotate out 2 or 3 different ones when I'm at work and need to focus. And in my experience, actually, the more you use it, the easier it is to get back into that state. But I've noticed that if I use a different track for the same purpose, say one specific focus track, and then use another focus track, I have to sort of retune to the new track. I don't just sort of slip into a groove with the one I'm used to. But you do have to rotate it out a little bit just for variety. Otherwise, I'll find myself snoring on my desk.
Right. Yeah. The variety.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've noticed too. What you were talking about state changes. Really, I think what it kind of comes down to is it's a way to change your state. Your mental state. Whether if you got a lot going on in your head and you want to kind of calm down, I've definitely been able to do that with these.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, everyone, kind of, I think, uses them for different purposes, depending on what they're after. For me, I've mostly used them for meditation and to tune my meditation and to get into those states. But it's always nice hearing about people who are using them for for all the other good things that they could be used for too, like studying or just simple relaxing or so many other things that you could use them for.
Has there been any one that's more popular than the other out of the ones that you've made?
Anything related to sex is going to be popular. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'll have to go through the most popular ones. I think the continuously the one that gets to be really popular is the getting things done. The studying ones tend to be really popular. Yeah,
I could definitely see that. Yeah, you won me from a marketing perspective with the Jedi mind trick one, but that's brilliant. Yeah, I'm going to have to check out your study aid and see how it compares to and your focus to see how it compares to other stuff I've used.
Yeah. Also, the sleep ones tend to sell pretty well too, because it seems like sometimes people have a hard time getting to sleep. And binaural beats, I think, have been known for quite a long time of really easily helping people get to sleep, because the delta frequency is it's pretty hard not to get sleepy if you're at least listening to delta binaural beat.
Oh yeah, it puts me out in about 15 minutes, literally. That and take like a melatonin and put those in, and yeah, I'm out like a light.
Yeah.
And I'll sleep all night because it's like it puts you in where you need to go in your sleep pattern almost immediately. You don't drift down there for, it didn't take you an hour and a half to get there. You're just there.
Right. Exactly. And the delta frequency is also really healing too. The sleep is really healing. Like I was talking about before, because it just signals your body to start making the healing sleep hormones and things like that are really good for you. So, I noticed, whenever I'm having trouble sleeping, I always just put on a Delta binaural beat and I'm just out.
You said this started as a way to get into astral projection or like out of body experiences, right?
Mm-hmm.
How did it differ from what we now have as regular binaural beats? You were talking about that earlier. What did they do to get people in the optimal place to get to that rim? Was it a specific pattern of frequencies to walk them through, or how did that work?
Yeah.
And how does it compare to doing mushrooms?
No, yeah, it's a specific frequency of patterns. There's some nice tools where you could analyze the binaural beats that are that people make. So you could kind of put a track through this tool, and it will analyze what types of beats there are in the track. So through kind of reverse engineering these tracks, we're able to see the type of frequencies that they put you through to induce the out of body experiences. But basically, yeah, it's basically the idea is to start at a higher frequency, like a beta frequency, and kind of move yourself slowly down into a low theta frequency. And I haven't had much experience with the out of body stuff because I don't know. I just that hasn't been what I really focused on. But
I noticed you avoided the mushroom angle.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's possible that something like this could pop you out into an out of body experience or really alter your consciousness to that degree. I would imagine that would take a lot more effort and practice.
Yeah, it would definitely take a lot of practice. And I think the binaurals could definitely help, though, because in an out-of-body experience, what you're looking for is this holy grail is body asleep, mind awake. And if you could achieve this body asleep, mind awake state, it's really, that's the beginnings of going out of body. So the binaurals, I think, can definitely help do that, especially when you're going into the lower frequencies like delta and stuff, because like we were talking about, it makes you really sleepy. So if you could keep awake, keep some consciousness as your body is going into sleep mode, that's the key, as far as I understand it, to going into out of body experiences. So the binaurals can definitely help you get there quicker, because it could just induce you into sleep mode really quick.
Yep, that makes sense. I really suspect, based on what other research I've done, that there's definitely going to be some positive effects on the pineal gland from this stuff, and especially because you talk about healing hormones and sleep hormones. All of that is tied very intimately to the pineal gland in the center of the brain. So I'm guessing there's definitely some action.
Oh, for sure. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. So how do people find you, and what do you recommend as like a starter package for people who are just sort of breaking into this space and want to learn more about it?
Yeah, so I run purebineuralbeats.com, and that's a great way to get started with binaural beats. Yeah, we have a free sample there, so that's a good way to get started. And see how it works for you. See if this is something that, because like I said, it affects everyone differently. But most people, they have a really nice, they come to binaural beats and they have a good experience, and then they want more, has been my experience. So depending on what you're after, check out our products on Pure Binaural Beats and enjoy. That's really the key, just to enjoy and relax.
Yeah, I've never met a binaural track I didn't like. Have you ever run into it? I'm thinking specifically of a friend of mine who's had this issue, but I think he just played it in his car without headphones. But have you ever run into anybody who's listened to one of these tracks and they've become ill, or they've gotten sick to their stomach, or were nauseated, or something along those lines?
No, I haven't really. But people ask me that question quite often. But yeah, no, they're really safe, the binaural beats. There's really nothing to worry about there. I've never met anybody who's gotten sick or had any sort of adverse reactions to them. I mean, if you're listening to them too loud or something like that, then yeah, you might need to turn it down, or if
you can definitely tell when you're listening to it too loud. It kind of hurts.
Yeah, Keith, Ren, I'm pretty sure he had it cranked up to about 160 decibels in his truck, and decided
wow,
that wasn't the thing for him, and that's how he judged it.
I bet not.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really good stuff, man. I really appreciate you coming on. Anything else you want to share with our folks? I'm sure our audience is going to really dig this.
No. Just enjoy the binaural beats. If you have any questions, you could always reach me at purebinauralbeats.com, and happy to take any questions anybody has.
So if I want a custom track set up, is that something you can mix together with a specific intention, or?
Sure. Yeah, we do custom tracks. If you guys wanted a custom track, I could definitely be willing to help you out there.
You might have answered this earlier, I don't know, but can you put subliminal messages on there, or is that something you just don't mess with?
For a custom track, we could definitely put some subliminals on there for you. If you want to supply the subliminals, we could work that in there, no problem.
Very cool.
Yeah, very, very cool. Cool. Yeah, I figured this was going to be a fairly short interview, but I appreciate you coming on and enlightening us a little bit. I was really more interested in the hemisync stuff and the relation of binaural beats to hemisync. I didn't really quite understand that, but it sounds like binaural beats just sort of grew out of that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Cool. Keith, can you think of anything else?
No, I mean, I was going to ask a question, but you kind of already asked it when we asked about holosync. I was curious if you had, heard of that before. Is there a lot of different technologies that you've seen out there, or is just a couple of people, or what have you seen as far as people making these tracks?
Well, everybody likes to brand them differently. Binaural beats is kind of a technical term. So that's when you got, that's why people might call it something completely different, like hemisync or something, you know what I mean? But basically,
it's all based off the same thing, though.
Yeah, the technology behind it are binaural beats. This is, there might be some fancy, calming music in the foreground or something, but really the technology is binaural beats, which are quite simple.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's a simple technology, but it sure is shrouded by a lot of mystery out there. A lot of people don't have a clue, how it works. So it's really, really good to hear how it actually affects you.
So we're going to wrap up the conversation there, and we want to thank Wayne again for stepping in to join us. It was a great conversation, learned a lot. Again, you guys can find his website by going to higherconsciousnessradio.com/bineural beats. That's BINEAURAL BEATS. Again, we want to thank you guys for tuning in and joining us. This was a great episode, learned a lot. And don't forget to check out our sponsor at bluerosealchemy.com. Thanks. Have a great night.